So why did communism fail? At the end of the day, it seems that there's simply a basic misunderstanding of human nature. Consider how capitalism even functions. The basic idea is that I own my own labor. Let's put it another way. If I produce something, if I spend my time and my effort making a product, whatever that is, or plowing a field, or whatever I choose to do with my labor, I have converted my time and my effort into that product. And if I choose to sell it, I am selling my time and my labor. And in a free country and a free market, I get to decide how much I want for that labor and who I will sell it to. Now, there isn't always someone who wants it, and so I'm not entirely free because I have to find something that someone else wants and is willing to pay for. Communism assumes that when I produce something, that labor belongs to everyone. In effect, my time and my effort belongs to the nation, not to me. Well, if I work extremely hard at my job, and the person down the road works way less, in fact, is kind of lazy and just goofs around, well, we get the same product in the end, right? If communism does what it claims, which in Russia, you always had the leaders who would get far more than everyone else. But assuming that they actually did what they promised, everyone would get the same amount. And so someone who barely worked at all would get the same amount as someone who worked extremely hard. Well, somewhat predictably, there's no real incentive to work hard. And so what happens is the total amount of food being produced, the total number of cars being produced, everyone works a little bit, just as hard as they have to, right? Because the Russian government will go after you if you don't do your job. But no one's going to go above and beyond. You just do the minimum you have to do to be left alone. And so the total number of cars and the total amount of food and all of the things being produced in your country go down. Whereas in capitalism, the harder I work, the more I get paid, and so I have an incentive to produce more and more and more. Well, if the total amount of stuff being produced goes down, then there's less of it to go around. And so if you have prices, if you sell those products, then what happens is the prices go up and fewer people can afford them, right? And so you get a small group with a whole bunch of stuff and a large group with very little. But if you don't, if the government just piles it all up and then divides it out equally, what happens is the first people in line get some and then the rest don't get anything. And we call that a shortage. So what you get in capitalist societies is when the economy's bad, prices go up and people can afford less, or people are out of work and maybe prices are going down, but you're not getting paid. So in a capitalist economy, when things go bad, you get some people who have almost nothing, right? In a communist society, things are always bad, but they're equally bad. And so there's always shortage. There are always people without things. Now, no one's starving except, of course, when, you have a really bad year, say the years under Stalin. But no one has a reason to work harder. And so what you saw in the Soviet Union was just sort of a average malaise. Everyone was just roughly equally poor and unmotivated, and there was no particular reason to work harder than anyone else. In capitalism in the West, you saw increasing productivity, and so even though you had poor and rich, unlike in Russia, the poor were, in America on average, were wealthier and had more stuff than the average person in Russia. And this glaring gap slowly became the undoing of Soviet communism.